David Boren says increasing the state sales tax to address the crisis in education funding is imperative. But many leaders of cities across Oklahoma say, whoa, this is not the way to address the problem. In some municipalities, an increase in the state sales tax will mean taxing people at a higher rate than any other city in the nation.
President of the University of Oklahoma, David Boren, says properly funding education is a moral issue.
There's no greater obligation that any people have than the obligation we have to educate the next generation. And what is going on in the state of Oklahoma right now? We're #1 in the nation in cuts to education.
Strong words as Boren kicked off a petition drive to ask voters in November to approve a 1-penny state sales tax hike to fund education. But from one end of the state to the other, many municipal leaders are echoing the sentiment of Claremore City Manager Jim Thomas.
President Boren is an honorable man, and I know he's given his life to public service in Oklahoma. But in this particular case, adding another penny to the sales tax, I believe, is bad public policy. That will, in Claremore, that will take us, at 10.33%.
And that of Craig City Superintendent Ed Klink.
I think that the sales tax is probably not the best source of revenue for the state of Oklahoma. It's a very regressive tax, one that hits the middle class and lower economically deprived people.
In Shakota, the sales tax is already one of the highest in the state. Residents pay 10.5% on a dollar. If the state adds another penny, Shakota's sales tax would be 11.5%, one of the highest rates in the nation. Nearly 25% of the population is over the age of 65, which is twice the state average. Daniel Tarkington is Shakota's mayor.
We got elderly people, that's most of our population, and they're living on a fixed income, and you start messing with their livelihood, it ain't like they can go out and work a few more hours. They're set on a fixed income, so that's really going to hurt them too.
What also worries Tarkington is losing established businesses.
So I could see a lot of them, it hurting a lot of local businesses and possibly even them considering going elsewhere or moving outside of the city limits to lower the tax rate.
Sharp's Clothing and Footwear in Shakota has been in business since 1919. It was started by the grandfather of Logan Sharp. He has no plans of relocating the store, but worries that an added penny in sales tax would just encourage more shopping online to avoid the tax. Sharp is also concerned city sales tax receipts would diminish and hurt the local budget.
Our customers are mobile and they'll go to other cities nearby that have lesser tax, particularly on groceries. We have to compete a little harder on retail prices to get people to shop locally.
The city of McAllister's tax rate is higher than the state's two largest cities. Adding a penny to McAllister's sales tax would put the rate at 10%. Steve Harrison is the mayor.
Oklahoma is already one of the highest states in the country in terms of average sales tax, and we're also the only state in the country that so severely limits where cities and towns can get revenue to run their municipality, with sales tax being practically our only avenue of revenue.
The career of Claremore City Manager Jim Thomas gives him a unique perspective.
In the other 6 states that I've served in, local governments had ad valorem property taxes so that we could count on a certain amount of income to support police, fire, public works. Some of the states that I've worked in, they exempt food from sales tax. Because here again, we all need to eat, whether you're rich, middle class, or poor. And so they tried to level that playing field. But in Oklahoma, food is taxed.
And while municipalities are against hiking the state sales tax, they stand strongly with Boren that something serious needs to be done to increase education funding. McAllister Mayor Harrison says lawmakers need to put politics aside when it comes to taxation and get creative.
What were we paying for gas a year or two ago? $3.50 a gallon? I understand that our gas tax in Oklahoma is one of the lowest in the country. We're now paying $1.30, $1.20 for a gallon of gas. You think people would really even notice if you stuck an extra dime on there?
In Krebs, City Superintendent Klink points out education funding was a critical problem even before the drop in gas prices.
Our assessment of what's going on in our state government can only be described as pitiful, absolutely, teetotally pitiful.